Hello and welcome back. Shortly we'll get this great looking train out onto the main line and have a look at her going around the layout. Terrific colour, isn't she? But let me just quickly show you what I've been up to over the last week or so. I've got another 3 of these electrically operated uncoupling ramps installed here. If you look at the insert picture, you can see I've had a test rig in here and got all of this working, but what I haven't had the time to do before I made this video is get the wires that run from here over to the switches. I have the switches installed and we can have a look at those. We'll just follow the rails down here to where the controllers are and we'll have a look at the switches. They're not terribly pretty. Here we go. So 1, 2, 3 new switches in there, and this one operates the one outside the station, which we've already seen working. So hopefully by the time the next video comes along, we'll be able to have a play with those in the sidings. I can't wait for that. I think that's going to be a great deal of fun. And there she is, all ready to go now. Absolutely stunning livery, isn't it? Very shiny wheels too, and bright connection rods. Off over the level crossing, and not a stutter as she goes over those points. Absolutely effortless. Close those behind her and off into the distance. So the model I've got on the layout today has instructions dated 1977, so I've got the 77 catalogue out again. She was available between 76 and 78, but here she is on page 18, looking terrific. A really splendid colour, isn't she? R.255, an attractive little 4-wheel locomotive of the type to be found on many private lines in the great industrial centres. The livery of this locomotive is modelled upon that of the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway, and then information about the designer and so on below. So really quite a splendid thing. It was also used in a set of the period. Let's see if we can find that. That was R.174, and that was the Rural Rambler, and I think that was made for 2 years, 76 and 77. Fine looking set. Yeah. Sadly I don't have a box set of that, but there's the contents there. Still battery controllers persisting there. So we'll just pop this to one side and we'll just have a look at the price list here. Again, dated 4th July 77. And we've got steam locomotives down here. R.255. Where are we? There we go. 040 industrial tank loco. £5.99. So sounds like quite a good price, doesn't it? So we'll just have a look at the box. Now, this is Hornby Railways. This is that slightly sort of mid to late 70s packaging. I think it's quite smart. I quite like these black card images that that are on the face card. So we've got R.255 040 loco passenger, it says there, and on the front it says steam tank locomotive. So the box is in fairly tidy condition, and it is a little bit weak and feeble where the flaps are here. I think they introduced these slits here which made them susceptible to tearing once they'd been opened. Just pop those down. It's white polystyrene on the inside. Let's see if we can encourage her to come out. Out comes the face card too. Just pop that down. There we go. Terrific illustration. Nothing really much on the back there. We'll pop that over there, and there we have the instructions. General maintenance instruction sheet, I think, really. And I've got the number there, R.255, 8th of the 3rd, 77. So it sort of folds out to A4 and covers many aspects of the Hornby railway system. Terrific diagrams there. So put that to one side. And now we have the model, white polystyrene insert, and she's a splendid livery. I believe this is printed in gold, and I think it is available, I don't know whether it's early or later, with yellow printing instead of gold. And those Lovely plated wheels there. I think this was possibly the last variation on Tram Railways industrial locomotive. Started way back in 1960. There's been a whole bunch of different coloured locomotives over the years. They're great fun on the layout, and what a livery to go out on with this one. Really is something else to look at. Just going to come through the crossover now. It's really well behaved. And this model shares the same chassis as the earlier 040 industrial locomotives, but it has this ingenious bracket here to mount a new style of motor without changing the chassis. I think that's quite a good idea. I believe this motor is quite reliable, possibly cheaper to produce than the X04, X03 type motors. But apart from that, it remains a fairly similar affair. So we'll just pop that down. We'll have a look at the chassis together with an older one. So there is a chassis from the splendid blue variant we're looking at today. And see, that is a rather smart looking motor, isn't it? Great plated wheels there. And the chassis is, to all intents and purposes, I think, identical to this one from this earlier green industrial locomotive. And it's just that plastic chassis, plastic adapter here, which this motor sits in, just sits in the same place as the older X04 motor. Let's just have a look at the instructions alongside that and see how that works. Quite an ingenious way of extending the life and possibly making it slightly cheaper to produce. Other differences is these coupling rods seem to be fluted. I don't remember fluted rods on the earlier industrial locomotives. They tended to be plain as far as I remember. The collection plate, I think, has been upgraded here, so we've got the phosphor bronze strip running between the two wheels, whereas we have this sort of bendy wire on the older industrial locomotives. So I prefer this phosphor bronze strip personally. Great looking plastic cog in there, looks completely different to the earlier brass ones, doesn't it? Still metal couplings, which is quite nice. So possibly a step forward, more reliable. You certainly get smoother running out of this model. We'll pop that down, just have a quick look at the body. And the printing is, I don't know, it's quite crude possibly. Certainly thick. It looks like it might have bled a little bit into the plastic when it was printed. This side of the model is all nice and shiny. The other side has suffered a little bit from handling over the years. There's some wear through in the varnish, I believe, if we look there. Nothing too bad. It's got all of its steps. Fine coal load at the back there. I think we've got these great big plastic round buffers instead of the tiny little metal ones that were on the early industrial locomotives. So I think we could say that's the same moulding, really, perhaps tidied up a little bit for a bit extra life. I'll just pop that one down. There's no company name on the inside of here. We just have built in Britain. Perhaps the other way up is easier to read. We'll just have a look in there. I don't know whether we can get focus on that. Built in Britain. But it hasn't got Hornby Railways stamped into it anywhere. So, fairly impressive colour, I think. Sadly, these three coaches I have on the layout today have no boxes. They first came along in the Rural Rambler set R.212 in 1976 and then became available as solo models R.212 in 77 and 78. Look at that, effortless up there. There's no magnesium on this model, and she does have very shiny wheels. And there's the four-wheel coach on page 28, catalogue number 212. Again, available from 76 through to 78, although a number of other liveries were available right through into the early 90s, I think. Four-wheel coach of the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway, I believe that means there. Doesn't say a great deal about it there, does it? R.212 four-wheel coach. It's quite brief, isn't it? So we'll pop that down, just have a quick look at the price list, which is classed as a silver seal coach. And there she is, right at the top of the list. Four-wheel coach, £1.30. Let's have a swift look at the coach. Quite simple things. Great shiny silver seal wheels, of course. I believe this was available with either gold printing or yellow printing. I believe this one to be yellow. You see that glazing unit there, I believe is part of the roof, is all part of one thing. That just slots in, and the roof's just been sprayed up in white. No seating detail in there. Excellent detail on the ends, I think. Buffers are part of the moulding for the chassis. Still retaining metal couplings at this stage. And nice suspension detail there. I wonder if this chassis was used elsewhere. So underneath there we've got some a part number by the looks of it, and Hornby Railways under the axle there. Can't quite see it all. And made in Great Britain. So fairly tidy condition. Terrific looking thing. There was no brake end made for this set. So quite a simple thing, as I say. I think there are many different liveries over the years. These are the only ones I have at present. There she goes, charging across the suspension bridge with the 3 coaches behind her. She does look pretty, doesn't she? Backing off the power a little now as we come down the incline. All nice and smooth. And the motor does have a completely different noise about it compared to the old XO4 style motors. Great going off there into the distance under the elevated section again. Coming down past the station, we'll come to the crossover and see if she's behaving well again, and the diamond crossings. Tiniest of stutter there in the diamond crossing. Well, I think that's probably it for this week. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you look back again next time, we'll have something else interesting to look at. Goodbye now.